And there are other really fine women players who are younger and cuter, and I told them that. I'm like, you know, you're about the music, because, you know, commercially it'd be a lot easier to push a package. You know, it's funny, it's really hard for me to listen to anything I do because you never hear yourself with like objective ears, you know, so I'm usually my worst critic. But I would say what comes out of this is the power of this record, the passion, the groove, whether it's like really rockin', house rockin', or slow or whatever, funky. And it's just so authentic in the best of ways without sounding like a museum piece. I mean, it really has the flavor of the blues that attracted me, that groove, that spirit, that soul, that grittiness. But it's played really well. I mean, there's nothing in there that's sloppy in a bad way. It just grooves, but it's tight. It's in your face. The way it's mixed is very natural, but big. So it's like kind of got just a great balance on it. But I think, you know, I thought it's like, it's funny it's coming out after this year. Like, we never anticipated any of this. It was done before, you know, it was some weird little thing happening in China nobody worried about. So I think what's going to be really good is going to be an album people will put on. We've all been through so much this year. It's got it'll touch on all these emotions, but I think in the end, it's going to make you feel good. And I think we need that right now. We need something to make us feel good. We always have needed it as humans, but right now, we really need it.
I think she proved something to herself. Now, in the era of truncated budgets, you know, it's not a great time to be in the record business. And, you know, sometimes you cut corners on the players, you cut corners on the studio. We were lucky, you know, that, you know, the Keepin' the Blues Alive label is owned by J&R Adventures, and my name is Joe, and I'll, you know. So anyway, I was like, I'm not going to let budget, you know, come into this thing. You know, it's like, well, we have to, this is it. We're running out of studio time. I'm like, no, we're going to make sure this is great. And because there's so much content now, the world doesn't need another average blues album, you know, and especially 35 years into her career, she doesn't need to make an average blues album. She needs to make a great record and a statement. And she goes, I'm Joanna Connor and you're not. And I kept saying that to her. I go, like, you have to act like I'm Joanna Connor and you're not. Because, you know, you can't walk in the studio, oh, shucks, oh, gee, you know, I was just happy to be here. Like, no. You need to come in and I'm like, I'm Joanna Connor. I'm going to prove something not only to myself, but to the listener. And that was what we really strive for and I believe achieved.
Well, my mission was when I grew up in Worcester, Mass, and I had a band, but I love Chicago blues. I couldn't play lead guitar at all. My mission was I'm going to go to Chicago because I'd visited and fell in love. I'm going to get in someone's band. I'm not going to sing anymore. I want to become a guitarist. And so I went out every single night to all the bars. And one guy that I really, really loved was Dion Payton, and he was in Lonnie Brooks' band. And I used to like hound him all the time. You're like, and I would sit in a lot because of Lonnie. Lonnie Brooks invited me up on stage out of nowhere because he saw the way I was watching him play. He's like, where are you from? What do you do? You're not from here. I hear your accent. I'm like, no, I'm here to play the blues. And he's looking at me like, you know, this young girl from Boston, you know, area, want to play the blues, plays guitar. And he was fascinated, so he let me sit in. And from there, he'd always let me sit in. I started to get more gigs and more gigs. So I played with Dion. We were the house band at the Checkerboard Lounge every weekend, which was Buddy Guy owned it. So I played with Buddy Guy, I played with Junior Wells, I played with James Cotton, I played with the Myers Brothers, I played with Otis Rush. I've opened up for B.B. King a few times. Luther Allison for years, Coco Taylor, Robert Cray. I jammed with Jimmy Page. Huey Lewis. I mean, just, yeah, like a lot of, those are the more well-known ones. Sugar Blue, yeah, Melvin Taylor, gosh, Billy Branch. It goes on and on. I've played with all of them, yeah.
A lot of times with guitar players. You know, you're in a club, maybe you're doing a 3-piece format, 4-piece format, and you're bored, you know, so you just find ways to fill space, you know, or you have too much echo or whatever on it. But in the studio, okay, now it's time to get real. You know, it's okay, everything's under a microscope, but it's also star time. You know, I'm old school. I know that's why they call me a boomer, but I'm old school. It's like, man, I remember those, you know, B.B. King didn't have to do anything except walk out, and people would give him a standing ovation. Star time. I was like, and I kept saying it, Joanna, star time. You're the star, you know? Let us take care of the rest. You just, you know, then when BB would hit that first note, his tone was big, thick, and warm, and you knew it was him. You know, when Joanna comes in with the slide, on Destination, first song on the record, it's star time. That's it.
I just feel like the luckiest girl in the world, you know, being chosen by a guy like Joe to do this. And there are other really fine women players who are younger and cuter, and I told them that. I'm like, you know, you're about the music, because, you know, commercially it'd be a lot easier to push a package. I'm not a package, I'm real, I'm who I am, and it says a lot about him too.